What if I told you America's Got Talent just witnessed one of the most emotional performances in its entire history? When a humble Filipino singer walked onto the AGT stage dressed like Elvis, the judges expected an impression. But what they got changed the entire room. His voice didn't just sound like the king. It carried a story, a loss, and a love so deep, it brought the crowd to tears within seconds. Even Simon Cowell couldn't hide his emotion. Stay with this video, because what happens next is something AGT has never seen before. Backstage at America's Got Talent, the controlled chaos of crew members, contestants, cables, and cameras fills the air. Yet right in the middle of all the movement stands a quiet figure, still as a photograph. Mon Villareal, a 27-year-old Filipino singer from Batangas, clutches an old vinyl record to his chest like a lifeline. The record, an original Elvis Presley pressing his father bought decades ago, shakes gently in his trembling hands. Mon shifts his feet nervously, glancing at the stage entrance draped with heavy velvet curtains. He has dreamed of this moment since he was a child, yet now that it's here, it feels unreal. The lights backstage cast a soft glow across his face, revealing the conflict in his eyes: fear, hope, grief, and an almost sacred determination. A producer approaches him with a clipboard. "Name?" she asks kindly. Mon swallows, his throat dry. "I'm Mon Villareal." She nods. "You're next. Ready?" Mon offers a nervous smile. "As ready as I'll ever be." The producer walks off, but the camera stays on Mon, capturing a moment of vulnerability. He runs his thumb along the smooth edge of the vinyl, whispering something barely audible. "For you, Papa." As he waits, the noise around him fades, and a soft cinematic flashback begins. We see young Mon, no more than 8, sitting in a small wooden house in Batangas. The walls are lined with old posters, Elvis in one corner, classic Filipino singers in another. His father, wearing a worn-out shirt and warm smile, places headphones over Mon's ears. The soft crackle of an old record player fills the room. Elvis begins to sing "Love Me Tender," and Mon's eyes light up, mesmerized. "Remember, anak," his father says, tapping Mon's chest. A real singer doesn't just hit notes. He feels them. He tells a story. Young Mon nods, trying to mimic Elvis's voice, shaking his hips playfully. His father bursts into laughter, clapping. They spend hours singing together, the music becoming their shared world, a place where struggles disappear and love echoes in every lyric. Then the flashback jumps forward. A hospital room, machines, silence, a frail hand holding Mon's. His father's voice barely above a whisper. "Promise me, if you ever sing for the world, sing with your heart, not like Elvis, like Mon." The memory aches. Mon blinks away tears as the flashback fades. Back in the present, the stage manager calls out, "Next contestant, please prepare." Mon pulls in a sharp breath. His heartbeat pounds like drums in his chest. He adjusts the vintage leather jacket he is wearing, brown, slightly cracked, and inherited from his father. It isn't part of an act. It is a tribute, a bond, a piece of home stitched onto his shoulders. A crew member approaches with a mic pack. "You good, bud?" Mon nods, though his nerves tell a different story. Another contestant, a dancer who just finished performing, walks past, sweaty and smiling. "Good luck, man, the crowd's on fire today." Mon forces a smile. "Thank you." The AGT stage looms ahead, glowing beyond the curtains. He can hear the low rumble of thousands of people inside the theater. The judges' voices echo through the speakers as they wrap up comments for the act before him. Then suddenly the curtain shifts. A hand signals him to step forward. Mon freezes. For a moment, he isn't on the AGT stage. He's back in his childhood, home, his father beside him, both singing into a broken hairbrush they used as a microphone. They laugh. They harmonize. They belong. The memory pushes him forward. He steps onto the stage. Instantly, blinding lights flood his vision. The massive theater spreads out before him, an ocean of faces and expectations. The judges, Simon Cowell, Sofia Vergara, Heidi Klum, and Howie Mandel, sit behind the iconic desk, scanning him with curiosity. Simon's eyebrow lifts slightly. "Hello. And what's your name?" Mon leans toward the microphone. His voice is soft but steady. "I'm Mon Villareal, from the Philippines." The audience cheers at the mention of his home country, and Mon smiles shyly. Heidi asks, "You look a little bit like Elvis today. Are you a fan?" Mon chuckles nervously, looking down at his jacket. I grew up listening to him. My father introduced me to his music. Simon folds his hands, studying Mon deeper. And what will you be performing tonight? There is a long pause. Mon clutches the vinyl tighter. A tribute, he says softly. A tribute to the man who inspired me, and the man who raised me. The crowd reacts emotionally. Even the judges lean forward. Simon nods slowly. Whenever you're ready. The stage falls completely silent. The music cue begins. Soft, warm, nostalgic. Mon closes his eyes. He breathes in. The entire theater holds its breath with him, and with all the love, pain, and memory inside him, Mon begins to sing. The moment Mon opens his mouth to sing, the entire AGT theater shifts. The first note slips out, gentle, trembling, and raw, and the audience instantly leans in. It's the opening line of Can't Help Falling in Love, but not the version everyone expects. Mon's rendition is stripped down, slowed slightly, carried only by a soft acoustic arrangement that feels like a whisper from the past. His voice is warm yet fragile, like he's balancing every memory, every promise, every ounce of grief right there on that stage. The judges exchange subtle glances. Heidi's eyes widen just a bit, her lips parting. Sophia tilts her head, hand already pressed to her chest. Howie leans forward, brows slowly rising. Simon's expression sharpens, the way it always does when he senses something real, something unmanufactured. As Mon continues, the camera captures his face in close-up, the slight quiver at the corner of his mouth, the faint shimmer of moisture in his eyes, the emotion pouring from him without restraint. This isn't a performance, it's a confession. The music builds ever so slightly. The theater falls silent, the kind of silence that only happens when thousands of people are simultaneously holding their breath. You could hear the soft mechanical hum of the stage lights if you tried. By the second verse, Mon's voice grows steadier, stronger. He moves one step forward, hand hovering near the mic stand, not gripping it, just keeping himself grounded. The vinyl record, placed gently on a stool beside him, catches a glint of the stage lights like a symbolic blessing. As he sings, the screen behind him softly transitions into a fading sepia. Overlay, like an old film reel. Although it wasn't planned as part of the stage design, the lighting creates an unintentional effect that matches the mood perfectly. It feels like he's singing across time, across loss, across a promise he made long ago. The camera cuts to the audience. A middle-aged woman in the third row wipes a tear under her glasses. A young man holds his hand over his mouth, visibly shaken. A mother in the front row pulls her daughter closer, whispering, "Listen, really listen." Mon reaches the chorus. His voice cracks, beautifully, not out of weakness but from the weight of his heart pressing against every lyric. The break in his voice sends a shiver through the entire theater. People gasp softly, a collective emotional release. Howie nods, whispering to himself, "That's real. That's pain." Sophia touches Heidi's arm, eyes misty. Heidi whispers, "Oh my God!" Simon's face softens, something rare, something genuine. Mon closes his eyes, letting the emotion take him back to nights spent singing with his father under the dim light of their small home. He can almost feel his father's presence beside him. The stage lights glow warmly, almost halo-like around his figure. Then the instrumental softens, and Mon lowers his voice to barely above a whisper. The vulnerability of that moment freezes the theater. From the balcony to the front row, not a single person shifts in their seat. The lighting tech instinctively lowers the spotlights, casting Mon in a single focused beam that makes him appear alone in an endless dark, except for the golden light shielding him. It's intimate, sacred, as though the stage is no longer a stage, but a private space where Mon shares something deeply personal with thousands of strangers. When he opens his eyes again, a single tear streaks down his cheek. His jaw trembles, but his voice does not falter. He sings through it, honoring his father, honoring Elvis, honoring himself. The camera briefly flashes to Simon. Simon's eyes are locked on Mon, not judging, not analyzing, just feeling. It's the kind of reaction fans talk about for years, the one that signals someone truly special has appeared. As Mon reaches the final chorus, the music swells gently, and he lets his voice rise, not loud but full of memory, full of longing, full of love. The audience rises, not all at once. It begins with a few people in the middle, then more, then the entire theater stands to their feet in a wave of emotion that sweeps across the room. A standing ovation in the middle of the performance, a sign of pure connection. But Mon doesn't even notice at first. His eyes are closed, tears running freely as he sings the final line. When he opens them again and sees the crowd, everyone standing, cheering, crying, his breath catches. The last note floats across the studio like a feather drifting downward. When the music ends, there is a strange, powerful moment of silence, just 1 second, one heartbeat. Then, the room explodes. Thunderous applause, shouts, whistles, people screaming his name even though they've only heard it once. Mon stares in disbelief, covering his mouth with his hand. His knees weaken for a moment, and he steadies himself on the mic stand as tears blur the bright lights into streaks of gold. The camera pulls back, capturing the stunning visual. A lone figure on stage, tears falling, a golden spotlight around him, and an entire theater on its feet for a tribute performance they will never forget. The roar of the crowd refuses to settle. Mon stands frozen on stage, overwhelmed, tears still streaming down his face. His chest heaves with each shaky breath as the audience continues clapping, cheering, even shouting his name despite barely knowing him. The vinyl record sits safely on. The stool beside him, glinting under the golden lights like a silent guardian. Finally, after nearly a full minute, the applause softens, dissolving into warm murmurs as the judges prepare to speak. Mon wipes his face with the back of his hand, still trembling, still stunned by what just happened. Sophia is the first to speak, her voice gentle, filled with emotion. "Mon?" She pauses, pressing a hand over her heart. Wow, that was beautiful. I could feel every word you sang. I could feel your father in every note." Mon bows his head, breathing shakily. Thank you so much." Heidi leans toward her microphone next, eyes glistening. "You didn't just sing an Elvis song," she says softly. "You transformed it. You made it something personal, emotional, heartbreakingly honest. I forgot I was in a competition show. I felt like I was witnessing a private moment between you and someone you love." The audience claps in agreement, some still wiping away tears. Howie takes a deep breath, visibly moved. "There are great voices," he begins, "and then there are voices that come with stories. Stories that break you open and make you feel something. You brought us into your world, into your pain, into your love. That kind of authenticity is rare, very rare." He sits back, shaking his head in awe. Mon exhales, overwhelmed, pressing his hand over his chest. Then all eyes turn to Simon. Simon Cowell sits unusually still, elbows resting on the desk, fingers interlocked. He looks at Mon with a mix of softness and intensity rarely seen from him. "Mon," he begins quietly. The entire theater goes silent the moment he speaks. "I've heard many Elvis tributes in my life. I've seen impressions, I've seen copies, I've seen people try to be the king." He pauses, leaning slightly forward. "But what you just did, that wasn't an impression. It wasn't imitation. It was soul." The audience murmurs with agreement. "Your voice cracked in places, and that was my favorite part," Simon continues. "Because it wasn't perfect. It was real. It was human. And it was one of the most emotional performances I've seen on this stage in a very, very long time." Mon's lips part in disbelief. A tear rolls down his cheek. Simon's tone shifts from soft to decisive. "And Mon, I don't think this was just for your father. I think this was for the world to hear." The audience senses something. A ripple of excitement spreads. People begin whispering, pointing. Simon stands up. The crowd gasps. Mon's eyes widen. Sophia places both hands over her mouth, already emotional. Heidi smiles brightly, knowing what's coming. Howie looks at Simon with anticipation. The audience rises again, roaring. They know what this means. Simon steps out from behind the judge's desk. He walks to the front. He places his hand over the golden buzzer. Mon shakes his head, stunned, covering his mouth with both hands. His knees look ready to give way. Simon looks up at him one last time and says, "This is for your father." Slam! The golden buzzer lights flash. A deep, thunderous sound blasts across the theater, and then a storm of gold explodes from above. Slow-motion shots capture Mon's reaction. His eyes widen, his jaw drops. His entire body collapses to the floor as he sinks to his knees, sobbing into his hands. The confetti rains down, shimmering like falling stars. The crowd erupts, screaming, cheering, crying along with him. Mon lifts the vinyl record from the stool and presses it to his forehead in a trembling gesture of gratitude. Hands shaking, voice breaking, he whispers, "This is for you, Papa. We did it." The judges rise from their seats, clapping enthusiastically. Simon makes his way onto the stage, something he does only for auditions that touch him deeply. He walks toward Mon, who is still kneeling in a shower of gold. Simon gently places a hand on Mon's shoulder. Mon looks up, eyes red, face soaked with tears. Simon leans in and says quietly, "Your dad would be proud of you." Mon nods, unable to speak, simply hugging the vinyl tighter. Sophia, Heidi, and Howie join them on stage. Sophia places a hand on his back. Heidi helps him stand. Howie offers him a comforting pat on the shoulder. The camera pulls back for the iconic wide shot, a golden blizzard swirling around him, the judges standing beside him, the audience screaming his name, the Elvis vinyl held close to his heart, and Mon trembling, overwhelmed, forever changed. A caption fades in, "Mon Villareal, going to the live shows." As he walks off stage, still surrounded by drifting gold, Mon whispers one last line, "Thank you, Papa. I kept my promise."